Hello, all you amazing people out there. You are watching the State of Anime 2023 edition. 2022 was an amazing year for anime. And as we look forward to the year 2023, it's important to reflect on everything that has happened in the anime industry and what it means for this industry that we love so much. Is anime dying? Is it growing? Will we ever stop getting isekais? I hope the information I give you today will give you a clear perspective in drawing your conclusions. To kick things off on a positive note, I have to personally say, 2022 gave us an incredible list of anime titles. While yes, the compatibility for those anime titles to become classics in our eyes is yet to be seen. That usually takes time. But I can't deny that the difficulty in making my top 10 list this year was a true sign of just how great these titles were. And while we didn't see an actual increase in the amount of anime that was produced in 2022 versus 2021, thankfully we did kind of see a slight shift in the genres themselves, the distribution of the titles into different genres. Yes, we seen a drop in how many isekai that we got. About 5 less than in 2021. The unfortunate thing for mecha fans out there is that we've seen the amount of mechas drop by half. But this kind of gave way to an increase in other genres like romance and, yes, slice of life, which I thought was actually really cool. And additionally, yes, ecchi. I didn't think about it until I looked back on it. 2021 sucked for ecchi. But 2022, we got more. But getting into the nitty-gritty of things, yes, the industry itself, the anime industry, especially the Western distribution, seen some significant and drastic changes. Let's be honest, with mainstream companies really diving into the anime industry, it's making other companies take note. Yes, of course, Sony being the biggest in this show of power. Yes, they already bought Funimation, but they quickly shifted into buying Crunchyroll. And the effects of that finally came to fruition as we've seen Funimation pretty much merged into Crunchyroll. And it seems as if Sony buying the biggest distributors in anime in the West wasn't enough for them, so they decided to jump into the physical realm as well by buying Right Stuff. So now they both have a strong hold on the streaming distribution of anime titles, but now, yes, physical distribution of manga, anime, light novels. And it really does make you question, what's next for Sony? Will the massive amount of money that they spent on Crunchyroll make them pull back for a little bit? It didn't seem to be the case by buying Right Stuff, but I would probably argue that Right Stuff wasn't a huge buy compared to something like Crunchyroll, which was in the billions. But it does make you wonder, do they still have money there, or are they going to start licking their wounds? Sit on this for a little while and let them kind of recuperate their money. Yes, a lot of people can celebrate the fact that now we don't have to have a subscription for Funimation and Crunchyroll. We can just focus on Crunchyroll. But it was a little sad to see that they decided to remove their ad-supported seasonal watching. But of course, the big fear that comes up now is, will Sony with Crunchyroll become a monopoly for Western distribution? Honestly, that's a fear that I have myself. But it does seem like with these big buys, a lot of other companies are taking note. Well, yes, Netflix seems to be kind of pulling back a little bit on their distribution. There's a lot of rumors of them going strictly to movies only. They did release some of the best titles this year. Cyberpunk Edge Runners, Romantic Killer, and yes, whenever they finally decided to stream it, Uncle from Another World. But they weren't the only ones, especially with Disney jumping into the game, snatching up titles like Summertime Render and Black Rock Shooter for distribution whenever. But yes, the biggest move that Disney made this particular year was, yes, licensing Bleach, which was a huge, massive move. It seems as if Disney has their eye on really growing their platform in Asia, and something like Bleach and other anime titles is an important thing for them, which yes, eventually led them to partnering with Kodansha, which is a massive move. Now, the effects of that is still yet to be seen because yes, a lot of titles that Kodansha has produced is on other platforms. It seems like the focus is more on future titles. But to be fair, they did snag up Tokyo Revengers, which was already on Crunchyroll. So which of those titles, like Attack on Titan and stuff, will they grab is going to be the big question mark going forward. That's all going to be based on whatever agreement they made that we unfortunately can't see. So we'll have to wait to see the effects of it. And yes, the final company that decided to jump into the anime game was AMC, buying Sentai Filmworks and Hidive. Now, the sad note that we got from 2022 is that AMC themselves is struggling this year. They're seeing a massive amount of cord cutters that are cutting off of their networks, and so they're seeing less money. And so they were trying to push into the streaming realm, and that's not going well. But we haven't seen any effects of that on Hidive itself. Is Hidive itself still profitable enough that AMC is kind of just letting them be because they're making them money? Or will Hidive eventually have issues as well? We're kind of already seeing that, yes, some titles are dropping off of Hidive. We don't know quite yet what exactly is happening there. It could be that AMC doesn't want to give them the money to re-up those licenses. Or you could take their word for it. While we haven't quite seen the numbers for 2022 yet, Typically, we'll get like surveys and stuff to give us an idea of how much money the market made. The competition and adoption of titles is proving very beneficial to the anime industry. As I've stated before, in past years, we've seen that the overseas distribution has pretty much eclipsed any other revenue domestically for anime itself. Now, it's important to note that most anime is advertisement to sell source materials, which makes the anime industry, or at least the publishers of those titles, a lot more money than the anime itself. But it is cool to see that us over here is telling them, hey, we like your stuff. But I think as long as source material still makes them plenty of money, we won't see Western companies really dictating anything the anime industry does, because again, their primary focus for a majority of anime is to sell source material, and they're not going to change that. You're probably going to see that happen more for originals than anything. Some other crazy events that happened in 2022 was obviously Kadokawa buying Anime News Network, and I think we're still kind of waiting to see the effects of that. Their initial statements was that it was more of a deal so they can push their products on ANN, and they felt like they have a lot of clicks. But the other exciting news that we got in 2022 is that Macross was saved. Macross is back. Companies finally got a hold of Macross's titles. They're licensing them, they're releasing them, and this is a super big deal because, again, Macross has pretty much been stuck in licensing hell for a long time, and it almost felt like they would never trust anybody else with distribution of their titles just because of how bad things went. But it seems like somebody got in there and talked with them, and we got a deal made. So I cannot wait to see those sell out. Now, let's get into the heavier news, the heavier subjects. I think the bigger question that comes as to how things are going to pan out in the year 2023. Obviously, one of the bigger news in 2022 is that Cloverworks, Wit Studio, Shueisha, and Aniplex all came together to make a company known as joen. And then we never heard anything else. This company was making a lot of promises. Promises to improve the industry itself. Improve artist pay, improve supporting artists, improve animator pay. Everything about their initial statement was that we want to support the animators. We want to support the creators. And sadly, we haven't heard a single thing since. And yes, this is over half a year away. And it honestly made sense that it could have benefited the anime industry having this kind of beacon of hope, because you essentially have the studios, which has the animators in it, standing side by side with publishers of source material, allowing that pay to kind of be equally distributed. I made a whole video on it, and I definitely welcome you guys to check that out. Technically, Wit Studio and Cloverworks have been working side by side for Spy X Family, but aside from that, which was already pretty much happening before this agreement happened, makes you wonder, was this all big fluff? Because yes, the big question mark and the big concern going into 2023 is the industry itself going to break? It seems like every season now, we hear about at least one title that is being delayed, and it being delayed due to production issues. This year alone, we've finally seen the completion of 86, which seen so many delays. Shine Post, Uncle from Another World was a disaster. And to book in the year itself, we've seen that Fate Strange Fake was delayed. Something is breaking into the industry. We're seeing more titles than ever before, and yes, animators are not seeing any sort of benefit, and they're having struggles finding animators. It's at the point now where you're seeing a lot of stuff is just being outsourced to overseas. China being a big one. And if they're having problems now, how are things going to turn out in winter when we have literally 68 anime titles coming out? Couple that in with the fact that they have this new invoicing system going into Japan, which will essentially mean that animators are going to get paid even less. It makes you question, where exactly are they going to get people to make all these titles? The only hope that we really have is that a lot of these titles are pre-animated. With the increase of anime titles that you have, the limited numbers of eyeballs to give to them, and yes, the limited number of hands to put it together, it does make me personally wonder, is something going to break? Will we see another Ken Colley delay, Shine Post delay, 86 delay, Uncle from Another World delay? And it's not just animator talent, you also have Seiyu talent. Somebody to voice all of these roles. It's exciting. Honestly, 2023, already in winter, it's exciting. The more titles, the more fun, it's more variety for more people to find something they'll enjoy. And that's a good thing. But we'll honestly have to wait and see. And that's what we're going to get into with 2023. I cannot wait to dive into it. I hope that you guys will join me for it. If you're new to this channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top lists. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. And yes, with the winter 2023 season, I will be covering everything, doing first impressions for all the titles. So if you're interested to see what exactly to expect, stay tuned for that. But I hope you guys enjoy this video as always. If you did, make sure that like button down below, comment, Let me know what you think of this whole situation. Do you think 2022 was a good year? Are you excited for 2023? Let me know down in the comments down below. Additionally, if you like my content and you want to support the channel more, we have a Patreon link, a tips link, and a super thanks button down below. We also have a membership button where you can join the channel. I greatly appreciate everybody that supports us, and y'all take care.